Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is Nadia, and in today's video I wanted to discuss the 7 books I read written by queer Muslim authors. Reading these books was deeply healing for me in a way I didn't know I needed, and I wanted to gather them all together in one video to share them with you today because they've all become my favorites. The first book I want to talk about is Hijablish Blues by Lamia H, and this is a book that I never thought I would see in print. It's a memoir that follows our author from their childhood in the Middle East to their adulthood in New York City as they come to understand that they are queer and find themselves in the pages of the Quran. This book offers a look at Islam through a queer lens that, again, I never thought I would see in print. It wonders whether Mary could be a lesbian. It talks about whether Allah could be non-binary. It takes key moments in the author's life and juxtaposes them against the journeys that prophets take in the Quran, and it's absolutely amazing from start to finish. This book was deeply healing for me to read in a way that I can't even completely articulate. It's written in wonderful poetic language that celebrates Islam and the Quran in a way that is obviously a love letter to both, and again, I can't believe that I would see something like this in print. It came out this year, I highly recommend it, and I believe that it is a necessary read for everyone. Next we have We Have Always Been Here by Samra Habib, and this is a book that follows the author from Lahore, Pakistan to Toronto, Canada. As a young adult, they realize that they're queer, and this book follows them on their journey to understanding their queerness as they drift away from Islam, not by choice, but because they believe that both things can't be reconciled. By the end of the book, they do reconcile the two things, and the title alludes to their photography project where they go on to document queer Muslims across Canada and the United States to show that we have always been here. This book was a wonderful read from start to finish, and I highly recommend it. It's not very long, and it offers a deeply hopeful and optimistic look into the future of life as a queer Muslim. Next, I want to talk about a book called Life as a Unicorn by Amru Al-Kadi, a gay non-binary Muslim drag queen. At the age of 10, Amru comes forward with a crush on Macaulay Culkin to their family that does not go over well. They get told that Muslims can't be gay. The rest of this book follows them on their journey as they try to distance themselves from every facet of their identity: their race, their gender, their queerness, even their class. They try very, very hard to fit into the mold of an upper-class British white person as much as they possibly can. This book is a heavier read as it follows them as their self-worth crumbles and falls apart. They do begin to find themselves, however, as they grow up, go to college, and found a drag troupe called Denim. Through drag, the author is able to find themselves once again and understand who they are, what their gender is, how their queerness fits into their life, and even how Allah fits into their life. They reconcile with their family as much as they possibly can, and this book does end on a hopeful note. Next, we have the 4 fiction books that I read, and the first book that I would like to talk about is The 30 Names of Night by Zain Jokader, a trans Syrian author. In this book, we have our main character, a young trans man who is trying to come to terms with the death of his mother, all while taking care of his aging grandmother. His mother was an ornithologist, a person that studies birds, and she was a fan of an artist known as Layla Z. Through circumstances, our main character is able to find a journal belonging to Layla Z in the crumbling remains of an abandoned apartment in an old part of town known as Little Syria. In reading this journal, our main character is able to find out that Layla Z saw the same rare bird that his mother saw before she died. This story weaves together Layla Z's journal and the present time as our main character goes on a journey to prove that the birds his mother saw were real. What he finds isn't necessarily what he's looking for, it's infinitely better, as he comes to terms with his gender dysphoria, finds love, and comes to understand that people like him have always existed. At this point in the story, he figures out what name he wants for himself and takes it on. I don't want to reveal his name as I think that would be a big spoiler, but it's a lovely name and I think that you should read this book to find out. The ending weaves together the past and the present in an unexpected way that was delightful. I thought this book was about family, friendship, and understanding who you truly are, and I highly recommend it. Next we have Roses in the Mouth of a Lion by Bushra Rehman. This book follows Razia, a young Pakistani girl who grows up in 1980s Corona, Queens. It chronicles her day-to-day life as a member of the large Pakistani American community there. When she becomes a teenager, she is accepted into a high school for gifted students in the city, and there she meets a girl who she begins to develop feelings for. One day they're seen together by one of her aunties, and Razia must then make the decision if she wants to stick with tradition or go forward and be herself. In addition to examining first love, this book also examines female friendships and what it means to be between two cultures. I thought this book was a wonderful coming-of-age story, and it was a pretty fast read. I read it in about 6 hours. It ends in a way that is ambiguous but still satisfying. The final two books I want to talk about are two YA books by Adiba Jagardar, The Henna Wars and Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. In The Henna Wars, we have Nishat, who right at the beginning of the book comes out to her parents as a lesbian. They don't really have a reaction except to ignore it, and then later on they tell her that it's not something that Muslim girls can be. While this is going on, at school we have a project where each student must come up with a business. Nishat decides to come up with a henna business, and at the same time another girl in her grade also decides to come up with a henna business. The other girl's name is Flavia, and Nishat develops feelings for her almost immediately. Slowly, they both begin to understand each other and come together, and it turns out that Flavia may return Nishat's feelings. When Nishat realizes that Flavia returns her feelings, she must come to a decision whether or not she wants to spend time with Flavia or stay in the closet for her parents' sake. The story was a little heavy, and I would look up content warnings before reading, as our main character does go through a traumatic event. It is worth reading, however, for the parents' character arc, as it is quite beautiful as they come to understand their daughter. Last but not least, we have Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating, which is definitely the cutest book in this entire list of books. In this story, we have Hani, who is out to her parents as a bisexual, but she's not out to her friends yet. At the beginning of the book, she comes out to her friends, and her friends have a less than positive reaction. They think she's saying that she's bisexual for attention. In order to validate her identity in her friends' eyes, she decides to say that she's dating another student in their class, Ishu. Ishu, on the other hand, is not out to her family, and her family is also very academically rigorous, placing a lot of pressure on her to be academically successful. One day, Ishu decides that she wants to be head girl in order to please her parents, but she's not popular enough. This is when Hani approaches her to let her know that she told her friends that they were dating. At first, Ishu balks, but then she decides that if they fake date, Hani can help her popularity rise, while she helps Hani's identity appear more valid. So they decide to fake date in order to help each other out. The whole fake dating plan blows up in their faces, however, as they slowly come to have real feelings for each other. This book was adorable from start to finish. Hani and Ishu are so cute together, and their mutual pining is so wholesome. I thought it was wonderful to see an out bisexual Muslim character be able to speak with their family so openly about who they are and be fully accepted. This book was heartwarming and adorable, and I highly recommend. So those were the 7 books that I read by queer Muslim authors and featuring queer Muslim characters. I hope that you were able to add some new books to your TBR, and I hope that you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.